Begin with a simple check. When you say the word happiness, what shows up? For most people, it is a rush of pictures and tastes. A great meal, a message with good news, a laugh that folds you in half. These are real. They matter. Yet the same mind that lights up with delight can be heavy an hour later. The meal is over. The message goes quiet. The laugh fades, and the room feels ordinary again. If happiness means holding a spark and making it burn forever, it will keep slipping through the fingers. Buddhism offers a kinder frame. It says happiness is not a mood to chase. It is a way of relating that can be trained. The good moments are welcome. The hard moments are workable. The steady thread is how the mind meets what comes. Buddhism starts with clarity. It points to dukkha, the rub we feel when we try to force a moving world to obey a fixed picture. It points to tanha, craving, the lean toward, and the push away. It points to upadana, clinging, the tightening that turns a preference into a demand. These are not accusations. They are descriptions. When craving and clinging run the show, even joy becomes fragile. When craving and clinging soften, a different flavor appears. Call it ease. Call it contentment. The Pali word you will hear across the teachings is Sukha. Sukha is not a spike. It is the sense that life is livable right now. It does not need everything to be perfect. It needs the mind to stop fighting the structure of the world. There is another important line. The Buddha did not ask people to believe him because he had a title. He asked people to look carefully. The early discourses repeat a simple rhythm. Things arise. Things pass. Attention can learn to watch this with care. When attention learns that rhythm, the fire cools. This is the ground on which a steady happiness grows. Two kinds of happiness. It helps to separate two layers so the mind can stop arguing with itself. The first layer is pleasant feeling. In every moment, the body reads a quick taste. Pleasant. Unpleasant. Neutral. That taste is not wrong. It is fast information. Warm sunlight on your skin. A joke that lands. A task finally done. Pleasant feeling matters. It gives color to a day. But it is also light as a bird. It lands. It lifts. If you try to tie a string to its leg, the day becomes a chase. The second layer is what the teachings call a wholesome ease. It is quieter. It does not depend on the weather inside the body or the weather in the sky. It grows when craving and clinging are not being fed. You can feel it in the chest as space. You can hear it in your own voice when it softens without going weak. It is the posture of a person who has stopped negotiating with impermanence and started working with conditions. This ease can sit beside joy and beside sorrow. It does not need to banish either. That is why it is reliable. You can test the difference. Think of a time you tried to stretch enjoyment by gripping it. A vacation day that had to be perfect. A dinner that had to prove something. The more pressure you added, the less joy you tasted. Now think of an ordinary hour that felt surprisingly good. The dishes were done. A window was open. A small problem was handled without drama. No one would call this a peak, yet it carried a calm warmth. The difference was not in the size of the event. It was in the absence of the demand. Why chasing backfires? Craving whispers a promise. When I get this, then I will be happy. Sometimes the promise pays for a minute. Then the mind adapts and asks for another fix. Psychologists call it the treadmill. Buddhism calls it dukkha when we make a home out of chasing. The nervous system was built to spot change. It notices new things with bright attention. It also learns fast. New becomes normal. Normal becomes dull. Craving treats dullness like an emergency. It pushes for more stimulation. Or it blames the world for not being a festival at all times. Either way, the heart tires. Clinging tightens the loop. The language shifts from I would like to I must. From I hope to I demand. From this is enjoyable to this had better be mine. Clinging builds a small identity to guard the demand. I am the one who deserves this. I am the one who must be seen this way. Then life does what life does. It moves. The guard feels attacked. The guard fights back. The fight steals the very ease the chase was supposed to deliver. There is another way to hear this. Wanting is not the enemy. Wanting to feed your children well. Wanting to do work that matters. Wanting to rest when you are tired. These are good wants. The trouble begins when wants pretend to be laws and write tickets to the world. The world does not pay those tickets. It is too busy changing. If happiness depends on collecting fines, the heart will stay angry. If happiness shifts to caring for conditions, the heart gets traction. The shape of steady happiness. The early teachings name 3 fingerprints on all conditioned life. Impermanence. Unreliability. Not self. Impermanence means the movie keeps moving. Unreliability means no single seam can be forced to satisfy forever. Not self means what you call a self is not a hidden diamond behind the eyes. It is a living pattern. These fingerprints are not meant to depress you. They are meant to stop the fantasy that a person can hold the river still and never lose. When that fantasy softens, the day grows workable. Workable is where ease takes root. In this soil, several wholesome joys appear. One is piti, the bright uplift that can show up in practice or in simple attention. A quiet cup of tea can glow when the mind stops chewing on yesterday. Another is contentment. Contentment says this is enough for this moment. It does not forbid improvement. It forbids panic that improvement must arrive now. Another is equanimity. Equanimity is the even hand that can hold joy without clutching and hold pain without flinching. These are not mystical states reserved for retreat. They are ordinary capacities that grow when craving is not given the keys. The heart trainings called the Brahma Viharas keep this steady joy warm. Loving kindness wishes well without a leash. Compassion meets pain without cruelty. Appreciative joy delights in good wherever it appears. Equanimity keeps care steady when life rocks. Notice how each one blocks a common mistake. Loving kindness blocks the habit of turning love into ownership. Compassion blocks the habit of blaming people for suffering as if the world never moves. Appreciative joy blocks the habit of shrinking when someone else shines. Equanimity blocks the habit of being yanked by every weather change in the mind. Traps that drain joy. There are near enemies that wear the clothes of happiness but drain it from inside. Excitement is not the same as happiness. Excitement has a place. It also burns fuel fast. When it becomes the standard, calm feels like failure. Numbness is not equanimity. Numbness is a frightened system muting its alarms. Equanimity is fully alive without being tipped over. Comparison is not motivation. It is a machine that turns other people's lives into reasons to doubt your own. Reputation is not joy. It is a wind that can change directions while you sleep. When joy is wired to reputation, sleep is thin. Another trap is the belief that happiness means constant positivity. The teachings never ask you to deny pain. The Buddha did not staple a smile to anyone's face. He asked people to see causes and conditions, and to act with wisdom. Real happiness can cry. It can say no. It can set a boundary without poison. It can apologize without collapsing. It stays connected to reality instead of trying to repaint it in neon. How the path grows happiness. The Noble Eightfold Path is the architecture that makes ease reliable. It is often listed as 8 items, but it breathes as 3 braided trainings. Wisdom, ethical steadiness, collected attention. Think of them as 3 strands that keep each other honest. Wisdom without steadiness floats. Steadiness without wisdom hardens. Attention without either becomes trickery. Together they build a good life. Wisdom begins with right view. Right view does not mean you must adopt a set of slogans. It means seeing clearly that grasping at what moves creates friction, and that actions have consequences. When this is seen, right intention arises. Right intention aims for 3 directions. Release rather than gripping. Kindness rather than ill will. Harmlessness rather than harming to get your way. Right intention is the inner promise to stop turning preferences into laws. Ethical steadiness covers right speech, right action, and right livelihood. These are not scorecards. They are ways to reduce self-made turbulence. Right speech asks for truth, and kindness together. If either one is missing, suffering multiplies. Right action asks you to avoid harm. Not to be a saint, but to avoid setting fires you will spend the next year putting out. Right livelihood asks you to earn your living in ways that do not fight your conscience. When these are tended, there is less noise inside the chest. Less noise makes ease possible. Collected attention covers right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Right effort guards the door of the mind. It prevents unhelpful states from taking over, weakens those that are present, encourages helpful states to arise, and supports them when they are here. Right mindfulness trains the mind to know the body breathing, the fast taste of feeling, the moods that color the mind, and the patterns that come and go. Right concentration steadies attention long enough for insight to land. Without steadiness, the mind chases. With steadiness, the mind can look and not be pulled away. Generosity runs through all three strands. Dana is not extra credit. It is a direct antidote to tightness. When you give time, or attention, or money, the body learns a new story. Safety is not the same as possession. Abundance is not the same as control. People who give regularly often report the simplest happiness of all: a wide chest, a quiet night, a sense that life is not a fight to defend a small pile, a different contract with pleasure. Pleasure is not the enemy. The teaching is not anti-joy. It is anti-bondage. A healthy contract with pleasure sounds like this: enjoy what arises without turning it into a mask you must keep wearing. Let a good meal be a good meal. Let music move you. Let success bring a smile. Then let each pass. The smile can stay without its cause. The warmth can remain without the story that produced it. When pleasure is free to visit, it visits more. When pleasure is forced to stay, it sours. You can adjust this contract in 3 small ways. First, name the pleasant feeling as pleasant. Do not rush past it, looking for the next hit. Second, watch the moment when enjoyment tries to become ownership. You can hear it. The inner language shifts into must, and always. At that moment, take a breath. Let the hand loosen. Third, share. Say the appreciation out loud. Offer a piece of what you have. Pleasure doubles when it is not hoarded. The act of sharing is itself a form of happiness. The role of meaning. Many people discover that happiness becomes steadier when life points beyond the self. This does not require a grand mission. It requires participation. Caring for a child or an elder. Doing an honest day of work that helps real people. Contributing to a local place so it stays livable. Learning a craft and handing it forward. Meaning is the sense that today fit into a larger pattern that matters. The teachings align with this because they constantly remind us that nothing stands alone. Interdependence is not a theory. It is the way bread appears on a table, and how kindness travels from one person to the next. Meaning protects happiness from shrinking into a private project. When the mind asks only, "What did I get today?" joy dries up fast. When the mind asks, "What did I give today?" the heart stays fresh. This is not moral pressure. It is a description of how human beings are built. We breathe better when we belong, and when our actions reduce suffering around us. Western echoes that help the ear. Across history, others have reached towards similar ground. Aristotle speaks about eudaimonia, a flourishing that rests on virtue and practice rather than on one bright feeling. The Stoics remind students to care for what is up to them and to release what is not. They do not ask for indifference. They ask for steadiness so that care is not swallowed by panic. Modern psychology distinguishes hedonic well-being from eudaimonic well-being and shows how gratitude, kindness, and attention training support the latter. None of these voices replace the Dharma. They can make it easier for modern ears to hear what the Dharma has been saying all along. Happiness is a craft. It is trained in the day you already have. Obstacles and how to meet them. There will be days when happiness seems far. Fatigue arrives. A plan falls apart. A relationship feels tangled. On those days, the first step is to stop adding the second arrow. The second arrow is the verdict. This should not be happening. I must have failed. They must have failed. The verdict piles a story on top of a fact. The story is heavier than the fact. If the second arrow has already landed, remove it gently. Say this is hard, and this is here. That honesty opens a small door. Another obstacle is the habit of postponing happiness until every box is checked. The mind says, when the move is complete, then peace. When the body looks a certain way, then joy. When others approve, then rest. Years pass inside that contract. Buddhism writes a different one. Begin where you are. Tend one condition now. Speak one kind, true sentence. Finish one task without switching. Offer one act of generosity. Sit for 5 minutes and feel the breath move. None of these fix the whole of life. Each one lowers the flame under the pot. A third obstacle is the belief that criticism is the same as clarity. Clarity can be direct. Clarity can say stop. Clarity can say this is harmful. But a constant habit of tearing down leaves no place for joy to land. The early teachings pair wisdom with compassion so that truth does not turn sharp without need. Happiness grows in that pairing because the mind is not living in a courtroom all day. Everyday scenes where ease can grow. Listen to simple places where the craft shows. You open your eyes, and a worry is already waiting. The old reflex is to grab your phone and feed the worry more information. The craft is to feel 5 breaths first. On the inhale, say arriving. On the exhale, say leaving. Then ask one useful question. What is one good condition I can tend in the next 20 minutes? Make the bed. Drink water. Write the single email that reduces the day's noise by half. The small win is not small. It is a vote for a different nervous system. You enter a conversation that matters. The old reflex is to prove a point and to protect an image. The craft is to speak the kindest true sentence available. If the other person shines, practice appreciative joy. Say good for you and mean it. The mind will notice how envy loses oxygen when joy is shared. The room will notice too. You end the day tired. The old reflex is to scroll until sleep steals you. The craft is to say out loud 3 specifics that were good enough. A clean bowl, a short walk, a hard truth, spoken without poison. Then, place the phone out of reach. Let the mind learn that rest is allowed without a fight. None of these are dramatic. They are plumbing. They stop leaks and reroute flow. Over time, the house feels different because it is different. A word about ambition. Ambition is not the enemy of happiness. The teachings do not ask you to stop caring or to set small aims. They ask you to aim without turning the aim into an identity that strangles the day. Work with clear goals. Give honest effort. Seek skill. Ask for feedback. Then let results be information instead of a verdict on your worth. People often find that this posture makes them more effective, not less. The hands stop shaking. The mind stops writing tragedies about each outcome. Energy that was spent on image defense returns to the work itself. That return feels like happiness because the heart is no longer at war with the process. A single paragraph of practice. For the next 7 days, try this rhythm. Name moods as visitors. Anger is here, joy is here, fear is here. Add the quiet line, this will move. Choose one act of generosity each day and make it concrete. Money if you can, time if you cannot, attention if neither is possible. Practice appreciative joy. When someone else gets good news, say, "I am glad for them," and notice the body soften. Speak one kind, true sentence that you have been postponing. Sit for 5 minutes and feel the breath arrive and leave. End each evening with 3 lines. One good thing outside. One good thing inside. One good condition you tended on purpose. None of this depends on mood. All of it trains a mind that can meet any mood without panic. That training is what stable happiness feels like from the inside. A gentle close. So what is happiness really? It is not the ceiling of excitement. It is the floor of ease. It is the feel of a day where craving is not steering, and clinging is not tightening every hour. It is the warmth that grows when generosity becomes a habit, and when speech leaves fewer fires behind it. It is the quiet that comes when you stop asking the world to be a statue and start walking with a world that moves. The old texts say mind leads the way. Train the mind to meet change with clarity and with care. Train it to speak truth with kindness. Train it to give as a default. You will notice that joy stops being a visitor you have to trap and starts being a resident you live with. The project is not to become a different person tomorrow morning. The project is to stop making war on the way experience is built and to learn the craft that makes life decent, useful, and surprisingly light. When you forget, begin again. When you remember, go on. When you feel good, enjoy it. When you feel bad, do not build a house there. Keep tending conditions. Keep your hand open. Keep your voice kind and clear. This is a happiness that breathes. This is a happiness you can carry.